can't tell if we're live or not because I'm still watching ads.
Yeah, I've seen an ad right now too.
Mm.
Come to Universal.
Now I want mac and
Oh,
cheese.
there we go. We're live.
Hey, we're live. Oh wow, 20 people suddenly. Welcome everyone once again to another Tuesday drawing stream.
Straighten everything up. Oh,
Oh, spaghetti out of my pockets. Oh wait. Oh, there you go. I was gonna say black screen. What? Don't need that today. Anywho.
It's oh man, Van Glam has not looked so well, does he?
Yeah, he's looking a little haggard. Or Steven Seagal. I kind of call him Steven Seagal now.
Great.
Now
I'm gonna ask. I need to redraw. You know what? It's almost at a point where it's like once per stream, you need to like do another rendition of him. Like just get Butterball and like draw something else over here. I was like,
don't tempt me, Andy. I just might.
Oh wait, you don't want to use his face as the base for George Lucas. Just put like a big old white.
Oh my god. Okay, I have to make that later.
Just had the word bubble. Jar's the center of everything.
Yes. What we share the same brain cell, Andy.
Look. I went down a small rabbit hole of why Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord, and I'm gonna be honest. Like,
I do love that conspiracy theory.
I want to believe that George Lucas intended Jar Jar to be either plagiarist or just a Sith. You know,
I would like to believe that, but I'll be honest. As I've gotten older, I've come to question George Lucas's wisdom, I guess we could say. But well, that's not what we're doing anyway. I'm actually working on another world-building thing for my setting.
You're drawing an industrial mech from your setting.
Yeah, an industrial hard suit, I guess you could call it, or exosuit. I call them hard suits. It's essentially just like civilian versions of power armor. You know, just like a power litter from Aliens.
I've been playing a game.
Yeah. What game is that?
It's called Citizen Sleeper. You may have heard
of that. I don't remember what it's about, but
so here's the lowdown. You are it's called a sleeper. Basically, you're someone who has agreed to have your mind digitized and put into like a robot body.
Yeah.
Here's Storm Song, who probably knows a lot more about it than I do.
Bon, and I cannot emphasize this enough, swag.
Yeah.
Hi, Storm.
Storm Song!
Yeah?
Have you played Citizen Sleeper?
Nein, mein Freund.
Oh boy, that means I get to talk for once.
You're so underrepresented, Andy.
Lol. But yeah, so
cut to like a 5-minute montage of Andy screaming.
I still like that I managed to do almost a perfect Goofy scream when we were playing Repo.
Oh, that fucking slayed me. That was the funniest
I
shit.
did that because I knew that Repo has the the distance modulate, like what is it called?
Yeah.
The Doppler effect.
Yeah, something like that.
I knew that when you.
Do you mean like that makes an echoing sound as something passes by and disappears into the distance?
Yeah,
it's like there's distance related.
Yeah,
so.
That's Doppler effect.
Yeah, so when he knocked me off, I like it was an instant. I'm like, oh, it's gonna do the Doppler effect, so I went.
Excellent.
I was giggling.
Anyway, the sleeper. Yeah, you're in a robot body. You have your mind emulated and put in a robot body, and I guess the robots are used as a workforce that the company technically has ownership of. Yeah, it's you know, you've heard this story before.
What does this game look like? Because this
you know what? I've heard it's almost like a board game with a story.
Okay, because that you just reminded me. I don't remember if you guys remember this or not. It was like some kind of tech demo or something for Sony, but it was like people in like robot bodies, and they were in this prison or something, and then they got out, and there's I think they turned into a game at some point, but I don't remember.
Well, it's like every cycle you get 5 you roll 5d6, and whatever they land on, those are your, like, you rolls you pick from whatever actions.
Yeah.
and you have like a stat line. It's not strength, stamina, dexterity. It's like skills,
Okay.
engineering, interfacing, endurance, and a few other ones. More like skills. And the highest you can get is like 2.
We need it in wideness. Okay, there we go.
So you could turn a forward to a 6 at best.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
get you.
like 6 is the highest you can get. So like anyway, uh, some of the sleepers start having a tendency of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to escape. And you're like an escape sleeper. You're on this decaying orbital cylinder. Well, not a cylinder, but a ring station.
Okay.
It's shaped like a ring with a hub in the center, and it's like decayed. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of like anti-corpo stuff, like basically like corpos, egalitarian like corpos have taken over, and they're doing bad things.
Seems to be a popular trend.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you're kind of like starting out. You're starting your life on the ship, and you're doing quests and forming relationships. It's not very.
I mean, it sounds
I
fun.
wouldn't put. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it is fun. I've been playing a lot of it, and the story I like.
Is it like
What I was
multiplayer
getting
game, or-
at. One of the concepts they have. I think they called it hard suits or something like that, but they have like
Yeah.
construction mech suits, like power armor.
Yeah.
And like
But-
one of the main characters, when he was working, like they have to drill into parts of your arm to attach the armor.
Oh, it's like the Surge.
Yeah, basically. And
Or
like,
Elysium, I guess.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And like, the guy's like, yeah, I saw this as a kid. We thought it was like superheroes. Everybody in my generation wanted to be one. We started doing it, and they started having failures. People's arms started getting off. And then the company was like, it's a liability. They shut it down. They sent everyone home with like pills and like, go make something of yourself. And the guy's like, a lot of people died of like arthritis and osteoporosis. And you see like these circle rings, like scars on his arm. And he's like, yeah, it still hurts, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. That's pretty metal, I guess.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty messed up. I think
There's all sorts of like just shit going on. Like, yeah, they're
yeah.
all the corporations are doing something just inhumane to the point where it's like comical.
Yeah, Wayland Yutani's like, damn son, chill.
Like everybody is Wayland Yutani.
That's kind of like
everyone. Oh, go ahead.
You first.
I was just gonna say, when everyone's Wayland Yutani, no one will be.
Well, it's reminding me of a setting my friend and I joked about once, where it's just like that corporation exists in one setting. So you have like LexCorp, Wayland Yutani, InGen, Umbrella, but like these all exist in the same setting.
I want to see those job fairs.
I swear to God, I saw a real life Umbrella Corporation. Like, it had like the umbrella on it, and I'm like, no, you don't know what this means.
I think there is a company that actually does have like the same umbrella as the Umbrella Corporation as their logo, which is very unfortunate. There's a lot of unfortunate logo design.
Look, there's a real life Gen Corp, and I don't trust it because every time in a sci-fi show it's called Gen Corp, you're doing you got some biological horrors in there, aren't you? It says, no, it's the pharmaceutical company. It's like a likely story. It's like, no.
Oh wait, Edgar sent me a meme. I have to remember what meme Edgar sent me.
Yes, actually, I did want to check in the chat how everyone's doing. If a clanner comes stomping, screaming but Shaw and bids an entire army, and your response is GameCube in the battlefield. See, I mean, I would laugh, but I'd also probably lose that fight because I'm not good at Smash Brothers. The clanner might actually whip my ass.
Here's the thing: how big are their hands? Like,
why is there
an elemental trying to play on like a Wii or something like that control?
Why is there a third handle on this controller?
Yep.
Why are the buttons so small?
Sadly, I can't put that one on stream, Edgos, but I do very much agree.
Oh, being naughty, are we?
But you know what
Man.
that game reminded me of? Hard Space Shipbreaker.
Ah, yeah, I can see that. The way they're
I
describing
might
it to me.
reinstall that and look for mods because I think people have made mods where they like
Huh.
added their own ships and shit.
I almost did a spit take.
What's up?
That's some spicy shit. Some hot memes.
Oh yeah, don't be sorry, Ed. Like, like it's funny. It's just I can't.
Oh no,
put
it's funny. It's just
Oh.
like I'm going to hell for
Yeah.
laughing, but it's funny.
Oh, he's apologizing for the brain damage. Well, okay, we'll take it.
Oh well, we're all brain damaged. Look where we are.
Welcome to the Legion. We got fun and dirt.
We got, yeah. We've all done stupid things as kids that have probably dimmed our intelligence a bit.
Yep, that do be how it do.
Yeah, yabba dabba doobie like that.
Doobie-doo.
I'm also trying to make this. I'm trying to get this to really feel like a bulky thing, and it's. I don't know. I'm
It might
good at
be because
drawing
you're-
mechs and stuff. It's just like trying to figure stuff out, you know.
It might be because you're trying to draw it to human proportions. You might have to draw a human figure
Yeah.
and draw the suit around him big. You're
Yeah,
like,
well-
no, this is
That or I just like elongate proportions, because then you could just be like, well, you know, they only go to like here in it, which is kind of what I'm trying to do. I mean, when you think about like battle armor and battle tech, for instance, that really is something that does that quite well with a lot of their designs, and except for like the dog one and the horse one.
I would
Uh,
actually say one day look up how people put on like giant suits, like Space Marine armor or some Transformer suits. Because
you know, I like the suit up stuff like that, like the sort of Iron Man suit up. I've seen what that's like for Space Marines and things, but I kind of prefer the idea of it being something you step into that's like a full thing that you operate. Like I love that they did that. For all the things I could fault Fallout 4 on, I think they did really a good job nailing the look and feel of the power armor, minus the stupid fusion core gimmick.
well,
but-
that's kind of what they do in when they cosplay power armor and all that. They like the bottom feet, like the shins down to the feet. They have to step into that. Then
I
they
have
wrap the-
actually seen a cosplay of the Fallout power armor that where it does open up like it does in Fallout 4
yeah.
via mechanical motors. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But one thing I noticed is like the eyes come up to about where like the neck guard is, and you basically wear the helmet as a hat, like on top of your head,
I get what you're saying.
and your forearm is in the forearm of the suit, but your like biceps, actually the shoulder pads are usually used to hide like because your biceps are kind of like you're almost T-posing
Yeah,
from your elbow in, like they have to stick out.
to establish dominance.
Yeah, and your hands aren't where the hands are. Your hands are inside the forearm, and they're like controlling the hands that are outside. Kind of like the if you watch the power armor from Stargate 2, or was it 3 that came out, where he's
I
like,
didn't even know they had power
it's
armor. in
about
Stargate.
time.
Oh, you're talking about StarCraft. Oh, okay,
Starcraft,
Stargate.
yeah.
No, I love that.
Stargate.
Shit. I love that whole scene.
When they
Or in
put the
Stargate,
armor
but-
on.
The gold armor.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's StarCraft.
Oh yeah, when he does the whole "it's about fucking time."
Yeah.
Hell, it's about time. I never really played StarCraft, but that trailer got me into StarCraft. I was like, this is awesome. Honestly, power armor in general is like probably my favorite sci-fi trope. No, it definitely is. I love it so much. It's like
If you
I
if you
wish-
fuck up power armor where you had the issue like they did in Iron Man
well, there's
3, I
that.
think, where like the
I mean,
guy
there's
twists
that.
and his
Yeah,
like
that-
upper torso is 180.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's Iron Man 2, I think. But
Yeah.
yeah, I get what you mean.
And as far as I understand, that was actually in the Halo books before they even did that in Iron Man.
Well,
2.
the whole thing with that in the Halo lore is that the way that those suits work, it's like a liquid reactive metal crystal, and it works really well for it. But the problem is that unaugmented humans, the movements are so fast and powerful on them that it will literally break bones trying to move your arm. Like there's a scene
Yeah.
in one of the books where a guy's testing the suit that's not an augmented person, that He moves his arm, and it essentially kills him because it breaks, and then there's convulsions of him, like with his arm, essentially kill him.
Yeah,
Which
it
is
tears
why
his
they
body
end up.
apart.
Yeah, and which is why they end up, with the Spartan program, making augmented people, because they're the only ones that can really operate those suits.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is an interesting take, because a lot of times it's like, we have to make armor that's worthy of these warriors, and instead it's we have to make warriors that can handle this armor.
I do like
Yep.
that a lot, yeah. And it does kind of play in with something that Bungie did back then with... Because Marathon 2 was a bit of it. It's just like transhumanism and just this sort of, augmenting humanity kind of was very much a trope in that regard. At least I think so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, you got elementals in Battletech and stuff.
Well, I've noticed that a lot. They basically like there's a lot of stories where they have to put like subdermal armor or like, I think in 40K it's called the
Black
what they call
carapace.
it, black skin or carapace. Yeah, it's like subdermal armor that
I
connects
don't know
with
about
your...
that one, man. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what I'm thinking.
I got you. Yeah, I probably said the wrong thing, but yeah, you have to have like a subdermal like jacket under your skin.
Yeah.
Like, that way, is an interface between the armor and also, can you imagine the chafing? Like the inside of that armor better have some pretty good padding.
I would
Well,
hope so.
Bearing in mind that Space Marines also have extremely, strong skin and lower sensitivity to pain.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's probably
I mean,
true.
40K Space Marines, like that's you almost have to write them off because they've got so much shit going for them. Like,
Well, it's the 40K problem where they want to make everything so cool it just goes over the top, and it's just, I mean, for me personally, that's where I just check out.
Yeah.
yeah, well, like I can
Mostly
understand
because they
some of the
play it so
things.
seriously.
A Space Marine must have to eat a lot. Like, can you imagine how many calories they have
Oh,
to
Consume
100%.
around... I believe it's around 12,000 per day.
That's a lot of...
And
Lot
that's
of
assuming
chicken.
they're not... That's assuming they're not being active that day.
Yeah.
One of the powers that some of the chapters still have is they can eat the brains of something they defeated, and they can get the memories and information from
Oh,
it.
you just reminded me of one of my favorite skits that the guys for Emperor had text-to-speech did, where it was the flesh eaters. And just like, yes, we must eat Borgar. They just
Yep.
eat an orc and they start tripping balls because orcs are fungus, and then they see Sanguinius. I know way too much about 40K lore for someone that's not into 40K, but yeah.
I truly genuinely loved 40K for the longest time, and there's a part of me that sometimes goes back to pieces of the lore and still loves it.
Yeah.
But it's not something I
It's
truck
honestly
into
that's
anymore.
that's how I feel about Star Wars these days.
The best 40K lore to get into is orcs.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I like Gaunt's Ghosts.
Mhm.
I like
Yeah.
Read the Founding. That's a great book, but I mean the orcs
I
are
will
definitely
say-
like the shitpost army.
Yeah, I will say one thing I found interesting is Space Marines are supposed to have, and this I thought was just really good sci-fi writing for something that was otherwise so that. Is that Space Marines, they have, in most cases, 18 or 19 synthetic organs that are added during their
That's a
escalation
lot.
process.
Yep.
And of those, 14 are solely concerned with maintaining purity and quality of blood oxygen content.
I guess that factors more into human metabolism and things than you'd think.
Yeah, and you think about the size of their muscles, what kind of strength they are able to field, and it's like,
Although,
okay, that actually makes perfect sense.
The Space Marines versus other augmentations kind of go into well, maybe that's just me projecting, because now that I think about it, in Halo, they do implants. They don't implant organs though, so and maybe it's just more they kind of go into a more alchemical way with it, which I guess makes sense for the setting, but. In the Halo thing, they do injections of chemicals and things to increase muscle density. But in the early Spartan 2s, in the Spartan 2s, they actually did things they would graft ceramic plating to the bones and things, which caused a lot of the Spartan 2s to wash out, either because they died or they became so deformed they couldn't function, as soldiers anymore.
I will say, I believe that basically these super augmented humans with muscle density and all that, they probably can't swim. They probably sink like bricks, no matter how
I mean,
hard they
if
try.
you go into water in Halo, you die. So you have a point there. Of course,
Yeah.
you're wearing like half ton of armor.
Yeah, but
That's how
even
much.
without the armor, because like our muscle density compared to like most apes, I think is what makes us able to swim. Like we don't
Huh?
like you know most
Maybe.
apes can't swim. Period. Like
I'd be interested to get kind of like a scientific opinion on that. I should ask somebody, but
it could also be our
Oh,
fact content.
I mean, there's also that.
let's see.
Yeah, how's Chad doing? What's Chad feeling?
Of those organs, one of them is called the Betcher's gland, where they can produce sulfuric acid spit. Yes.
Yes, they can spit acid. Well, some of them
I
have lost
I
this ability.
I kind of want that, but instead of like spitting acid, I want to spit like LSD at people.
Some chapters have lost parts of like their gene seed like programming, like that some can't spit
Yeah.
acid, some can't like eat brains and learn stuff, some can't and some get their own personal mutations. Like I think the Blood Angels get like pale. They basically like turn into vampires. The
They get
the salamanders,
t-
their skin
taste of
turns
twin.
black because of the radiation of their sun. And what was it? The Imperial dragons or something like that. They get like these bony growths coming out of their arms and heads, and they're like heavily like looked at like, are you warp creatures? You look like a warp monstrosity.
I think that's the Carcharodons.
No, the Carcharodons are the shark guys. They like patrol the outer rim of the galaxy, like fucking shit up.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're also very like some would
Sounds like
consider
40K,
them.
alright.
I think it's the 21st chapter that was considered a cursed chapter because they had a whole. There was like, what is it called? The Flame Falcons that burst into flames, and like it didn't burn them, but it burned everything around. They were like, "Yay, the Emperor blessed us!" And then the Inquisitor was like, "Exterminatus."
Well, I mean, there's the the Hawks that became the Legion of the Damned.
Yeah.
Or the Firehawk. What did I say? Flame Falcon.
Yeah, it's something like that. You gave the "We have Firehawks at home" answer.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the theories for the Legion of the Damned. Like, I like that, and I also like that the Legion of the Damned are kind of basically loyalist demons, or
They're warp infected.
yeah,
It's like Doom Guy.
they're like I like to think that they're like Space Marines that the Emperor has basically said like you're now an eternal warrior for mine, and we pop through the warp every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like,
different.
They would have the demon subtype, but they're not demons. You know what I mean?
They're like tieflings in that way.
All right.
But so I looked it up. So apes in generally can swim. Larger ones such as mandrills and gorillas cannot. Their muscle mass is too dense.
Oh, so muscle mass
yeah.
does play a part.
Yeah, so chimpanzees, for example, can swim. Now, they're
What?
less natively inclined to do it than we are. So they actually have to kind of be cajoled by a human to learn how.
Oh, I thought they couldn't swim.
Yeah. But no, like, gorillas are out and out unable to.
So I guess it does play a factor. So an elemental probably could not swim.
Yeah. Unless you were able to account for that in the
Well,
rebiologicing of their
They do
biology.
have power armor or battle armor specifically for underwater. So maybe they can. I don't know. There's a lot of different like. That's honestly something I wish would get more attention in BattleTech is the battle armor because there's a lot of like lore and different versions of battle armor in that. That
You get into your
are
underwater
really cool.
mech suit and it has a Logitech controller. You start
no
sweating there.
God.
Andrew!
What? It's been
Andrew!
more than 2 months.
I mean,
Andrew!
it's been a while.
It's been a while since I could tell
Make
a
that-
meme like this. It's been a while.
It's been a long, long road.
Yeah.
Getting from there to here.
But going back to the battle armor stuff for a second, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but did you know that the clans did not invent battle armor?
I'm sure it was around before then.
It was. It was the original ones were built by the hegemony. It was called the Nighthawk. It wasn't like the clans essentially made the modern idea of it, but they because the Nighthawk was more like, I guess you could consider it, not in terms of capability, but in terms of like proportions. It's like Mjolnir armor.
Well,
it was made to be like a stealth suit.
Doesn't the Inner Sphere have like power armor that like puts you in the shape of a dog? Like you have to hunch over and all that.
That's the one I don't like. Yeah, I mean that exists, and there's the horse one too.
Like what was it, Sniper Wolf from Metal Gear?
We don't talk about those, Andy. Oh, I forgot about Sniper Wolf. Well, so does your butt come out first when it opens? Is that like Sniper Wolf, or whatever it is, something wolf? My persona, do not steal.
That'd be funny if like you see a mech wolf and the cockpit opens up and you see a big old butt stick out, and then a burly man is like, "Ha ha!
Gaze upon my gluteus."
Wow, you're only in your snippies. It must get hot in there. And he's like, "Oh yes, that's why."
That is the reason. Certainly not because it makes me feel confident. Oh God, I just had a horrible thought. Elemental Buffalo Bill. Would you bachol me? I bachol me. The fun part is Goodbye Horses fits very well with that scene because Clan Hell Horses made elementals.
My little hell horse, my little hell horse.
I just imagine like a horse screaming on fire. It's like the Venture Brothers where it's like the Fantastic Four parody and the Human Torch guy is just like constantly screaming, burning.
Yeah, he's just in pain perpetually.
Yeah. Okay.
One guy's just a giant blister. Oh.
Gross.
I need to one day look up like renditions of power armor from Starship Troopers.
It's kind of cool.
I like the OVA
I think that's
one
one of
a
the
lot.
original like sci-fi stories of power armor.
That is, yeah. Heinlein kind of was. I don't want to say he was the first, but it's definitely like the farthest back that I can think of. But yeah, I like the OVA. They did like an anime OVA in like the 80s, I think, and I like that version a lot.
Would you like to know more?
Mm-hmm. You know, I used to like the thinner, more like humanoid suits, but as I kind of prefer the more bulky stuff these days.
I like it if it's reasonable bulky. Like, if it's not bulky at all, then it's like, that's not realistic. But if it's like...
Yeah.
If it's like chonker armor, then it's like... How do Space Marines even lift their arms above their heads?
Like...
Parentheses, they probably don't.
Yeah. That, for one, is one that I'm like, eh. I think Space Marine power armor kind of looks overrated. I do like the Fallout version, but that also, you get the feeling when it moves about how it's more realistic how it moves, you know?
Power armor is basically supposed to be a weapons platform, so you carry more weapons.
I mean, it was supposed to be a way to carry heavy weapons in a lighter package. It just so happened that it's like, oh, we could slap armor on this now.
Yeah.
Well, Space Marines can just run through some vehicles, you know?
Yeah, I suppose they could. Make some horrible...
Space Marines are supposed to be like... They're literally supposed to be almost like angels. Like, that's why they're called that. Like, when a Space Marine shows up, like, when we see them, there's always, like, so many of them. But in lore, usually, like... They usually send, like, 3 at most.
I suppose so, yeah.
A squad is usually about 8 or 9 of them, if I recall correctly.
It's like 10 or 5, but that's in like the tabletop books. Like the one thing about the tabletop and the lore is it's like if you were to go point like lore's friendly Space Marines, it was always said that you'd only have like a handful of Space Marines on the board, but they'd be like really hard to kill.
Yeah. Well, because the whole idea was if you...
Real quick, guys, reading chat. Brewster, I think I actually know the one you're talking about. The Hardy Man exoskeleton. That one's kind of interesting to see. It's a one from the 60s for you guys. Which is funny because this suit that I'm working on currently, I had the thought of calling it the Handyman suit, but I kind of like Hardy Man too. And that's a fun homage, so I might change it to that.
Yeah.
Oh god, he's got a Space Orc power claw.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so metal. I love it.
It's like this. It looks like power armor that's today. Like it's mostly that's more of an exo frame. Or
I mean, that's more of like where we're at in terms of the technology these days. Is we like honestly the big limiting factor for all of it is just the power supply. You know, like we're more than capable of building like the rest of the suit, but when it comes to power, that's the part where we're kind of not in a good spot. And
I think you can diesel engine on a power suit, but then you'd have this thing going. You'd be stomping around with this thing going me all the time.
Yeah.
We need you to get in stealthily. Okay, boss.
I get the feeling you would not be using power. Like if it's anything like, again, going back to BattleTech, like you would not be using. Well, at least when it comes to elementals, anyway, because there are stealth power armor suits. But you wouldn't be using those for, like, covert action, necessarily. You'd probably be dropping them in, like, shock and awe.
You've got, like, 500 or 800 or sometimes 2,000 pounds of steel and flesh just stomping around.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I love a lot of the battle armor designs.
When Space Marine 2 came out, and when the RoboCop game came out,
Oh, that's right.
You have to have a solid, like, stompy sound when he walks around. Like, you know in the movies,
100%.
RoboCop?
Yeah.
You know when RoboCop walks around, you hear it's like, doo, doo, doo,
oh,
doo.
no, he sounds mechanical, which is what you want.
Yeah, I want to hear weight. I want to hear, like, the tons of metal that are behind you.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's honestly the big thing for me with power armor. I want it to feel weighty, one way or another. You know?
As much like, with mechs, for example, that's one of the reasons, for example, like, that some of the guys in the Legion, like, not just Whacker, but some others, far prefer, like, BattleTech to, say, Transformers or Gundam.
I mean, I like Gundam, but I do, in terms of, like, what I like to see in mechs, I do definitely prefer more of, like, the BattleTech kind of feel to it. Yeah.
You know, the thing they hardly ever talk on is like, what am I trying to get? Yeah, how long it takes for you to signal in? You know, basically for you to move your arm to the arm actually moving.
The neuro response.
Yeah, that. Well, you know, the speed, the response action, all that. I did like in Fallout 4 or 3, it was like you could just put on power. Like you have to learn how to use it. Like you just can't walk around and stomp around like that. You have to. Everything has to be calculated. And you have to basically learn how to walk again in this shit.
That's if you watch the Star Troopers OVA, actually, that's something that comes up. Like when he first puts on the suit, he's like, wait, how do I move in this? And he ends up falling over because he's just like, how do I walk? Like, it's something you have to learn how to do. And it makes sense.
I mean, I bet, like, you have to pick up your leg and then aim it and then, like, put it down.
Oh, yeah, it's like learning to ice skate just in a reverse. Yeah. You know, you're trying to learn how to maneuver something that is so...
There was an article that I read, which is actually kind of one of the things that turned me on to power armor as a concept, because I knew about it and just never knew how it worked, but it was in Popular Science, and it came out like right around the time of the Iron Man movie, the first one, and, you know, it referenced that, of course, but there was a part in that where one of the scientists, I guess it was like, one of the scientists that was working on it kind of demonstrated it, where he had like his daughter or granddaughter, essentially like, well, think about it like she's standing on his feet and like he's holding her arms, so it's kind of, you know what I mean? You know, the kind of like, so essentially she'd be walking him around like an exoskeleton, and it was like them trying to practice walking that, and it took them a bit to figure it out, you know?
Oh yeah, Ramshackle said, look up the Saturine armor. That's from 40K. Okay, that armor looks like the aliens from Fifth Element.
Oh, the good aliens or the bad aliens?
The good aliens.
Yeah, where they're all like chunky.
Oh, I think well, I know the aliens. I'm not sure that, because there's. Are you talking about the Centurion armor? Where it's, yo, dog, I heard you like Space Marines, so we put a Space Marine inside your Space Marine?
No, this is like, I think this is like 30K Terminator armor.
Oh. Hold on.
Yeah, Horus Heresy.
Oh, I did get pinged. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me
Or
look
Rogue
at it.
Trader era Terminator armor.
Jeez.
Hold on.
Yeah, like the Polgers are so big, like you can't.
Oh my god, those pauldrons. Oh, wow.
I'm sure they serve. It's got a gun in between. A Pauldron's
hold on.
holding out the gun.
Let me see if I can post this, because it's a stupid WebP format. But oh, there we go. Yeah, look at this absolute lad. Holy shit!
Oh,
Pauldrons for days.
chompers, yeah.
He has a cannon on his back.
Yeah,
This
that's quite
is like.
Stop being so silly.
He's got 2 levels of ammo. He's got 2 magazines.
See, I could get behind this if they made this like more ridiculous, where it's like it's got like, you know, those like hot rod exhausts, where it's just like the whole of them, like if you have those on the back and just like it's shooting flames and it's just absolutely metal, like I'm all for that. But they
Basically, just go full Sengoku Basara about it.
Yeah, just get real like Megas XLR. But they play it so seriously. It's like, come on, guys, like lean into the camp. There's so much good camp here, and you're just like, no, it needs to be serious and grimdark and evil.
Well, and
sorry,
then beyond
I
that,
tend
like,
to flog 40K a lot. I apologize to people that are 40K fans in the audience. It's just
believe me, most of the 40K fans talk like this too.
Okay, good. It's not
You know
just
what?
me.
Yeah, look
There's
up the
stuff in 40K
Mondo
I do
Jawa
like, so-
from the Fifth Element. That's what they look like to me.
I know the aliens you're talking about. The ones from like the beginning that essentially put the artifact there in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think another problem is it's not just the failure to see the camp in it, but it's just like, I know at some point them taking it seriously means that it becomes oppressive. Like, so I'll use my favorite example of a story from 40K, The Ancient Awaits, Rylanor's Last Stand.
Yeah.
During that story, like, you can look at it in all of its glorious, like, you know, this is absurd, and it is. But what really made that story worth listening to is the guy said, no, fuck you. I will remain true to my ideals, and you can go fuck yourself. I'm better than you ever were.
Yeah.
And then go out like a goddamn badass.
Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me.
And I have a virus bomb.
I will say that song that they did of it, it's funny to watch people's reactions to the virus bomb part.
I hope they didn't
Like,
do it during COVID.
I think the song came out in like 2018.
Okay.
But no, just because the way he sings it, like, it's this, you know, Broadway style back and forth, you know, the hero and the villain taunting each other and exchanging philosophical decrees. And then Rylanor says something like, I have need not for worry nor for words when I've held the virus bomb, and everyone in unison in the song is like, what? And then suddenly an explosion sound, and then the song continues from there.
It does literally the what the fuck boom meme for real.
It basically what the fuck booms you in the middle of an otherwise seemingly serious opera.
Wonderful.
Okay, you know what? I'm not the biggest proponent of this anime. I do like it, but like I also get why it's not everyone's thing, and hell, sometimes it's not even my thing. Um, the person who should do 40K, if you ever wanted a 40K movie directed, the guy who does One Piece.
What?
Think about it.
That's,
It's all about epic, overly badass heroes, but it doesn't take itself seriously. It's also extremely campy. And every character is just, my character is, so awesome, and you're going to want to, like, learn all of my attacks like the little weebs you are. Like, it does everything 40K does, it just does it better.
does it have an
It
island
just
arc
also
that
has-
lasts way too long?
Oh, and 40K doesn't have arcs that have lasted way too long.
I mean, fair point.
I didn't say it'd be perfect. I didn't say it'd fix all the problems. I said he would make an actually good director for a 40K movie. Yeah.
You know what? Maybe 40K has grown into something where there's a little bit of this and that for everyone.
That sucks. You suck for saying it, Andy. No.
I hate you.
Shut
I
up,
hate the bands you
Brony.
like.
Shut the fuck up,
Oh,
Brody! Don't talk to me about shit like that. Horse
Stop
boy.
it! Stop it! Can't you see you're tearing this support group apart?
You point at the splinter in my eye and ignore the beam in yours.
this can't you see you're tearing this group therapy session apart?
Well, no, because it's spec and beam, so if it's splinter, then it has to be like an impaling rod or something.
So it's just like the scene from Total Recall, or not Total Recall, Commando. It's like lay off some Steve Bennett.
Da-da-da. Ba-ba-ba.
Da, da. Do.
Holy fuck, oh shit, there's a dinosaur, Jesus Christ.
What the fuck?
They're coming out with like a horror dinosaur island game, and I was upset because the raptors have feathers.
Interesting. Actually, I kind of do like the raptors with feathers look.
Ah!
I know, Andy, I know.
I hope somebody sends you a toy Triceratops covered in feathers.
Well, I haven't been sent that, but I have been sent a Mama Gets Catboys t-shirt. Thank you, Jay Witt.
Agreeable. Most Catboys would agree with you, too.
You know, the hard part about
say...
drawing mechs is like figuring out all the detail bits, because it's kind of like a puzzle.
Okay, so Ramshackle, animation-wise, yes, you would want someone like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or Berserk, but you would want the writer.
Oh my god. I would actually love 40K if it went full JoJo. I don't know much about JoJo, but from what I've seen, it'd be such a shit post.
Oh, so
It's
you
all
like
style.
studies?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I mean, yeah, it's essentially just like if the Emperor had a text-to-speech, but more so.
Yeah.
Which
My
I would get
audio
those guys to
abs
voice.
quiver at your voice.
I would
Oh.
absolutely put them in if we do a 40 piece, or I almost call it 40 piece. If we did a 40K anime style thing like One Piece, they would definitely be going in there with the voice actors who did them. Like,
Oh yeah, like hell, how many like borderline erogenous and ambiguous characters are there in One Piece? The answer, quite a bit.
there's
And
a
many
few.
of them are also super muscular killing machines.
Absolutely.
You know,
Oh god, I've opened Photoshop by mistake. Oh god. Hmm. But yeah,
remember, kid,
drawing mechs is
Emperor's Children and Slanesh are not like JoJo's posing. sexy. They're like Cenobite. As
I
in,
mean,
not at all.
it's more like Bible Black.
Yeah. What we must not mention the forbidden show.
I'm not saying what it is. I'm just saying if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Leather
Unfortunately,
and
now
staples.
people will.
Leather and staples.
There's degenerates in the audience. I know where you've been.
You know what worries
There's-
me is I've been seeing pictures where like a Black Templar is like reaching his hand out to help a human civilian. I'm like, no, that's
Oh.
not what the Black Templar are about.
Yeah. I mean, some of them might have that level of compassion, but that's certainly not their chapter's modus operandi.
If there's one, I don't think there should be a picture of them doing that because like that's like tainting waters or something.
Guy on Broadway,
Yeah,
you're
no.
tempting fate saying that.
Like, no, the Black Templar, when they land on a planet, nobody's coming out alive. Hell, I'm surprised the planet's still there.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
No, Storm, you forgot a syllable. It's be the chain sword you want to see in the world.
Oh my god, he is right.
Rob Zombie intensified.
Well, that's I don't know. That's why I like my space orcs. You know, it's like, ironically, they're probably the happiest group in the setting because in the 40th
They're having
millennium there's only war, and
They're having a great time, that's for sure.
it's not about winning. It's about fighting. If we fight, we win.
Yeah, it's like a bar crawl crusade.
Yep.
If we fight, we win. If we lost, that means we fought. If we win, that means we could probably fight again. And if we run away, that means we could fight again another day.
There is a logic to this logic, even if
get-
it's often unlogical.
Yeah.
Would you say there's a Logitech?
No comment.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you this. Like, blue is the luckiest color. Why do you think the Ultramarines are always winning? And the only reason the Emperor is still alive and so powerful is because the Orcs believe he is.
I mean, that would follow in the setting.
I hate the fact that you're probably correct, considering I know what the orc lore is like.
I know
where it's like,
I know it's not
You-
true, but then also
if you give an orc a piece of metal and convinced him it was a gun, it will fire bullets.
look, one of the Orc Pain Boys was like his like the minion of like Tharaka, the big orc, is like, you just want to experiment on him and torture him. And he's like, yeah,
What's wrong with
I
that?
just like experimenting and hurting folk.
I just had a horrible thought of just like a horde of orcs, but it's all chippy.
We're gonna turn you into pies.
I feel like orcs would appreciate a good pie.
They like,
Oh, yeah.
I think
They're
they mostly
coffee.
eat mushrooms. I mean, they'll eat anything, but I think they love their mushrooms.
You
Like,
can make a mushroom pie. I'm sure they would enjoy it.
They're
yeah.
their own self-sustaining ecosystem. Like everything that the orcs had, it was like the squigs, the squigginess.
That is true.
Everything like the
You know what?
mushrooms that they eat, it's like it's all
Do
the
this
same
the easy
stuff
way.
basically. Just in a way, they're like the Tyranids, which I have a theory. And hear me out. So the old ones, or the lizard men from Fantasy and 40K, they eventually fucked off from the galaxy because they were quote unquote losing the war in heaven against the Necrons. What if they went to another galaxy and created Necrons and then just sent them over to our galaxy? Yeah, fuck you guys.
You mean Tyranids?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. I don't know 40k lore too well.
So repeat that, Andy. Because
Okay,
you're triggering my autism for something
Well,
I no longer
you know
love.
you know who the old ones are, right?
Yeah,
And they lost the war in heaven with the Necrons and they fucked off, right?
yeah.
As you do.
What if they went to another galaxy, they created the Tyranids, and then sent the Tyranids back to our galaxy like, rage quit, rage lose.
Mm. I could see it. There's actually there's a theory that what are they called? That oh god, one of the Catan made the Tyranids.
Did they have
Dog.
enough? Did they have enough sheep and brick to be able to do that? Or
Yes, I've heard the jokes.
Well, the thing is that the Tyranids are extragalactic, aren't they?
Yeah, and I
intergalactic,
believe
planetary?
I believe one of the Catan, at least in the older lore, were one of them was basically cast outside of the galaxy. One sealed inside of Mars? Question mark?
Yeah, some believe that that's the great dragon that the mechanics worship.
Sorry, I've just been thinking of Beastie Boys for the past 5 minutes. Because it said intergalactic and,
You know, Krispy, there are metalhead orcs.
Oh, no, I mean, and that's one of the things I'm like, this is the shit they should have kept in, where it's like you had orcs with machine gun guitars, which is the coolest shit.
They do. Look, if you do something with an orc and put it on the board, the person that's going to call you out for it is probably the GW official, and that's because,
I just had the thought of making an orc army based off of Woodstock.
their mushrooms. They went to a planet where it caused their mushrooms to be a little more hallucinogenic.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing, too, is, like, because orcs, you can kind of kit bash all their shit, because that's how they roll. You can take a VW bug and turn it into a battle wagon.
Orcs like to steal hats.
Yep.
I think
Actually,
orcs
now that I think about it, I think it'd be more like Woodstock 99 if we're talking about the orcs. So now just think of like an orc Fred Durst.
Well, I'm like, orcs are about being violent, though, and, when I think of Woodstock, I think of, like, the hippie movement, so, like...
Andy, you should Google Woodstock 99 real quick. That's why I changed it to that.
If you're thinking mosh pit, yeah, orcs are a mosh pit army.
Oh, no, it was way worse than just a mosh pit at Woodstock 99.
Yeah. Also, Digi says that, purple orcs are purple because they're trying to be magenta, and magenta doesn't exist.
Look, purple is the sneakiest color. I'm going to ask you this. Have you ever seen a purple orc?
I've seen Grimace.
Grimace is not an orc. Grimace is an ogre.
That you know of.
Grimace is a milkshake, isn't he?
Maybe the purple is a cloaking device, and he's actually an orc.
I always thought he was like a
know.
rotten chicken nugget or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I just know there's certain things about Grimace lore that I wish I didn't know.
Space orcs are 12-year-olds. If given, take the imaginative power of a 12-year-old and put it in a 2,000-pound muscle brute made of fungal material.
Well, and specifically a football hooligan with the 12-year-old's imagination powers.
Like, there's a story where a truck broke down.
Love me, Battle Brothers. Don't like Tyranid simple ass.
A truck broke down, the orcs got out, and the boss says, "Did you put gas?" Like, one says, "Did you put gas in it?" And the boss says, "I did." And the other one says, "I don't think you did." And the boss punches him. He says, "If I says I put gas in the truck, I put gas in the truck." And all the other orcs are like, "Yeah, he's right." And they get back in the truck and they start it. And there was surprisingly gas in the truck, and they went on their way.
Somebody's been to 1D4chan. I know that fucking analogy.
Now, I'm pretty sure there are limits to this. Like, I like the joke about the orcs forming into a tank going, "I'm a tank, I'm a tank, I'm a tank."
I would love if that happened in a 40K
I'm pretty sure that didn't happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, but I'm pretty sure that won't happen. But they did say that they do find guns that are just boxes with, like, a tube and some nails in there.
Zork says purple orcs are super stealthy because they are super fast, red, and super lucky, blue, which makes purple.
I don't think orcs understand color theory.
Ergo, why magenta doesn't exist.
Wait, Grimace is a taste bud.
I thought Grimace was the source of the meat for the McRibs.
That's That's what's his name? That's Meat Canyon. I don't know.
Oh no, not Meat Canyon.
So the whole McDonald's group came because McDonald's wanted to use HR Puffin stuff, but they couldn't get the rights. So they basically, you know, copy pasted legally distinct. Like Mayor Burger was HR Puffin stuff, and this, that, and another.
Look, all I know is there's certain internet images I've seen that are tell you how grimace shakes are made, and I don't want to think about them.
HR Puffin stuff.
I mean, there was a bit of puffin stuff, but I'll stop now.
Deeply distressing.
Now, you know,
Jeez.
it's how we roll. I think that's going to be the title of my autobiography, Deeply Distressing. Grimmage is absolutely an eldritch horror. Are you kidding? Look at that face. Do you think that man recognizes God exists?
I want a series of stories where the old ones wake up and they try to drive humanity insane, but humanity has gone insane but the other way. Like we've like
Andy,
we've
I'm
become-
sorry. I don't want to think about the skibbity over Innsmouth.
No, think of it. Like humanity has become so indifferent that like Lovecraftian bullshit can affect us, and now
That's
like
what I'm
the old ones
saying.
are like the old ones are like, I don't understand.
What the
They
fuck
don't
is
care.
TikTok?
Yep.
I'm a
They're
seven-tongued
speaking
eldritch
the language-
abomination from out time of space. He says, "Yeah, fuck you. I've got bills to pay. Get the fuck out of the way."
They're speaking an eldritch language, and it's just like skibbity riz, my brother.
By the way, there's an anime now that I've talked about it before, but now I feel like you need to watch it, Crispy. At least the first
scared.
episode.
What is
Because
it?
after watching some people's reviews of it and them pointing out footage and such, one of the villains in Kataro, and he shows up several times, is just Logan Paul. And he gets his ass kicked a lot.
I was gonna ask if he got punched in the dick, but I'm glad to hear that.
He gets hit by a car, he gets turned into a tree.
I don't think it's a Also, side note, I don't think it's a controversial statement to say that he's a dickhead.
Oh, yeah, well, given that this is an anime, I wonder if he did something that somebody in Japan wasn't happy about.
Yeah, like went to a certain place and recorded a video, maybe a place that is one of deep emotional trauma for some reason.
Yeah. And it wouldn't make me wonder if the episode where he gets turned into a tree, parentheses the first episode, he turns into a tree of the kind from that forest.
I think I picking up what you're putting down there, Storm.
Yep. Now, this anime is also actually extremely thoughtful, but it's just like... I feel like the author is not above a certain degree of literary revenge.
Look, any writer worth his salt is willing to pour spite into his work to give a fuck you to someone that they don't like.
Okay, listen.
Any artist, actually. I should say it's not just writers. I mean, Michelangelo
If-
literally put multiple middle fingers to the Pope at the time that made him paint the Sistine Chapel in the Sistine Chapel.
Yep.
Listen, if gentlemen on the caliber of Benjamin Franklin can shitpost the level that he did,
Oh
you know,
my
we
god,
can't-
he
you know,
shitposted
the guy,
so
I think he
hard.
drove another man to his grave with this.
Yeah,
shitpost.
that's the guy that literally was. I mean, that was one of the inspirations for the Jersey Devil. Actually, that whole feud.
Yeah.
Which is so
it looks
funny.
it looks like Zork has also watched Kataro. And somebody says, thank you, somebody finally agrees with them that the Pharaoh from Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a Cenobite.
I was going to ask about that, and I think that would be a very interesting version of the Yu-Gi-Oh! As a setting, where he's like, we're going to the Shadow Realm, and it just turns into Hellraiser.
I mean...
We
willing
have
to die
such
for
cards
some-
to show you.
If you're willing to die for some pleasure, you're probably willing to die for a card game.
What's the... I'm trying to think of the name of the movie, but it's one where it's like, there's literally a scene where these guys like psychically project or propel like playing cards at a woman and they kill her. I'm trying to remember the name of that movie. Yeah, it's like, oh god, I'm trying to remember the name of the movie, but she's like screaming on a bridge, and these guys are like telekinetically launching cards at her like a pitching machine. They're just like getting stuck in her, and she's like just getting impaled with cars the entire time. I'm not crazy. That absolutely exists. I just can't think of the name of them. It's like Warlocks or something. I don't remember.
I mean, I believe you.
It's my kind of movie. I watch weird shit.
Well, yeah, it sounds very Sharknado.
It does. Oh, wow, it does.
Hello.
I still need to finish
Andy.
Fire Tornado.
Sorry. I think my internet got fucky. By the way, Krispy, I sent you something. You know the kaiju game that we play every once in a while?
Yeah.
There is a gentleman I like to follow on YouTube. He has something akin to it called Junkbot Generator, where you make a robot.
I like the sound of that.
When you get a chance, have a look over of it. You can basically do what we do, but it's pre-generated, and you use a D20. And maybe one day you could do something like that and make a robot.
I do like that. Actually, there's a book on my shelf.
So the movie is a Stephen King story called Sometimes They Come Back Again.
Of course, it's a Stephen King movie.
And it was directed by Adam Grossman.
Adam Grossman!
Who did Artificial Intelligence? No wonder it's a weird movie.
That sounds about right.
I'm a lost little boy trying to be human, and I am a robot gigolo. I will guide you through this world.
Did you say Robot
Incidentally,
Gigolo?
Jude Law plays in some weird movies.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, Train Spotting.
Yeah. No, in AI is basically Pinocchio, but, like, morbid? I mean, Pinocchio's morbid, but you know what I mean.
It just turns into the Quake 4 Stratification scene halfway through, or...?
Well, and then, like, I guess Jude Law's character is supposed to either be, like, the fox or the something. One of the things that isn't a bad guy, but it's not a good guy. Maybe he's the boy from Pleasure Island or whatever. But, yeah, he ends up protecting the main character for a while. And,
Gotcha.
like, they basically outright say, yeah, he's a sex robot.
Kind of like Blade Runner.
Yeah. Blade Runner, if Blade Runner was written by Steven Spielberg, and I'm trying to remember who the other director was, because the other director died halfway through, and so what was supposed to be a joint project ended up being finished by Spielberg.
Oh, wow.
Spielberg. Get it? Spiel.
I mean, that's definitely what it turned into with, like...
Yeah, I hear people's names and what they're up to, and I'm like, is this, like, ordained? Like, every time I think of Bernie Madoff, you know, the guy that tried to Madoff with a bunch of money.
Yeah. That said, well, let's not get too much into that set of weeds.
Yeah, we might upset people that... Yeah. So how about the Lakers?
You know what upsets me?
What?
These prices!
Dun 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 dun.
This is what I have to put up.
I'd buy that for $1.
I'd buy that for $1.
Always watching Wazowski.
Please watch it. My day's back in OnlyFans.
Stop. I don't want to think about that.
Oh, I got one of those, like, I'm going to laugh, but please say less moments from text the other day. When, what did I start singing?
Yes.
It was, skibbity-doo-dah, skibbity-day.
He was about to hit send on, like, bees to your house.
Okay, so what's the deal with Skibbity Toilet?
Okay, so...
I wish I could fucking tell you, Andy, because I see it and it makes me upset.
Yeah.
Because I see toys of it at the Dollar General, and it's just a bunch of robots, and I'm like, I don't understand.
Okay, so what are you asking specifically, Andy? Like
Like,
why
why do you
is
know
it
the
popular,
Skibbity-
or what do people see in it? Because those are two different questions.
Like, okay, like... Oh, maybe I
think
should
the
just
people
go on a
that are-
YouTube deep dive. I'm like...
I
I understand it was
God.
just a guy's head in the toilet, right?
So it's source filmmaker, Gmod kind of bullshit. Of yeah, a guy's head sticking out
Uh,
of a toilet, and he sings an old scat song that goes something like "skibbity doo wop," something like that. That's where the phrase comes from.
Well, like
Yeah.
I'm a scat man.
But
that's
sorry,
I.
quick pause because Rimward sent me a good picture showing Darth Vader holding his hand up like he's about to force choke you, and it says "Leadership. It's about lifting people up." Anyways, so following that, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Um, so the thing though is that the Skibbity toilet videos, which get increasingly weird, and obviously the guy decided to take a little bit of his own product and start what's the word I'm looking for? Uh,
Merchandising.
well, not merchandising, making lore for it. Like there's
Uh,
lore. And there shouldn't be, but there is. But like actually trying to turn it into a story, and that's
Ugh.
weird to begin with. But the thing is, they are short form videos made for TikTok, and they cause people to look at them and be like, "What the fuck did I just watch?"
I.
Which means that they're going to get clicked
Uh,
on. They're short form. They basically work the algorithm perfectly,
I. I
and
hate
they're
it.
instant gratification. So what's with Skibbity Toilet is that it is designed to succeed regardless of quality.
I. I hate it. I hate it so much. I.
Yeah. Now,
Uh,
whether the guy did it on purpose or not, that remains to be seen.
I. I mean, I don't know what his intentions were. All I know is that I see something that I don't like.
Yeah.
And I hate sounding like an old man that just doesn't like new things, but just everything you've explained to me is just makes me upset as
old
someone that makes
man,
stuff.
look at my life.
Well, and no, just the whole phrase of like it's meant to be successful at any cost, regardless of quality. That sentence alone makes me upset.
Well, and it also is like, I'm not going to say it's solely responsible. It's probably only responsible for fractions of a percent, but it is endemic of another problem, which is that content online is largely now catering specifically to shorter attention span, with randomosity, non sequitur type stuff typically being the
And
way to get,
I
a,
Squirrel!
I
a
hate
quick,
it.
cheap laugh.
I hate it
And
so much.
it's probably this kind of stuff that is ruining attention spans nowadays. Well, not the only thing. We have plenty of things that are ruining attention spans.
I think it's a good factor to it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Because the
but
amount
yeah,
of times I get YouTube Shorts pushed into my face is more than I like.
yeah. But it's one of those things where it's just like you can't allow yourself to do too much on a cell phone or TV or too much YouTube or Twitch.
Yeah.
Except for us, we're good for you. All of you keep watching.
Yes. Obey.
Um. But yeah, never doubt the worm. Um. But yeah, no, it's part of the. It's equal parts symptom and illness.
Man, it's just like I hate feeling like I'm an old man because I'm not that old.
Crispy,
But
you're an old man.
mentally, yes. Mentally, I feel exhausted half the time with this shit.
I'm old, whacker. I may not look it, but I feel it.
I'm tired,
Like
boss.
like too much skibbity over too little riz.
I'm going to fucking shit in your milkshake.
I believe you.
Good.
Shakespeare, all the boys to the yard, you damn straight, like go to the yard. Better than yours, damn right, they're better than yours.
I
My
both
God.
don't want to and do want to see a music video for that.
Ed Wind in a thong
Oh God.
on the beach, just singing that.
I suppose there's worse songs he could be singing.
I wish they'd make more old Looney Tunes style cartoons with the animation. Because, like, when I started noticing that, like, more studios and stuff were being used with Flash animation,
I mean, Flash isn't really around anymore, but I get what you're saying. It's just
I mean, like, I understand the allure of Flash animation, but like my artistic sense was like humbug, humbug, humbug.
you're
I don't.
talking about like digital animation, yeah.
Well, not digital. It's like when you turn a character around and the only thing you do is you slightly like make it bounce and then you flip it.
Well, that's like the really simple version. But look on the upshot. That gave us Emperor has a text-to-speech device.
Yeah,
Yeah. But that kind of got its own like uh uh. It's like it's like it's meant to be that way, and I do appreciate the animatic. Hold on a minute, phone ringing.
Wait, I missed a part of what, I missed a step with, chat here.
What are they saying?
Oh, okay, I misread something, that's all.
We don't do that here. What are you talking about? I mean, you're not wrong, Digi. But I mean, and I hate constantly just bringing this out, but I draw the line at that when it comes to like AI generated stuff.
I mean, no, it is fair to say every form of art has its critic.
Yeah.
I would say
No
it's
argument
also...
there.
I would say the overdoing of criticism in our society, and I have a rant about that,
Oh boy, I could
does-
contribute there.
does diminish the quality of criticism, but I also see criticism as a necessary thing. Like,
No, I mean, I will say, like, and it was a hard thing for me to get past, but one of the things I had to learn as someone that does, like, art and design is to accept criticism. You know, because it is important. You need to learn about, you know, what others... You need to look at stuff from another perspective, and getting criticism for... Like, constructive criticism, obviously. If someone's just being an asshole about it and just be like, this sucks, you know...
yeah. Now
That's one thing.
that said, therein lay the key word: constructive criticism.
Yes, absolutely.
So, like, in the case of like the Skibbity thing, I think the Skibbity thing is more of a sign of we're starting to be a little bit haunted by this thing called the internet that we made, that we all enjoy, but like people are spending way too much time on. And Skibbity manages to both profit off of it, but also be like emblematic of it. I would say the criticism there is completely valid because we are seeing manifest signs of things going wrong. Now, I could be misunderstanding, and Digi might be talking about a different piece of art that got mentioned. But that's why I was having to read back to the chat. Like, is it the Skibbity thing we're talking about, that you're talking about the criticism, Digi, or is it another thing we said? That's where I'm...
Oh! Guy on Broadway! The one where he talks about the hack between Johnny Bravo's frame scenes. That was an experiment done with the, what was it called? It was an old...
Sorry, let me clarify, Crispy, and then we'll go to your thoughts specifically, Andy.
Sorry.
He's talking about the discussion on Flash animation.
Yes. Well, that, I mean, yeah. That's... Flash is just, like, a program that people used to animate in. And, I mean, there's definitely a lot of, like, Flash animation that's not great. But there's also a lot of Flash animation that I think a lot of us grew up with.
I mean,
like,
it gave us Homestar Runner. I'll admit to that.
It gave me My Little Pony. I love
My Little Pony. It gave us salad fingers.
It gave us salad fingers.
But yeah, the guy on Broadway is going is, I forgot what they're calling. I think they called it like squashing. But if you've watched the cartoon, the Dober Boys, which had that green guy that would say, "A runabout, I'll steal it."
No. Yeah.
I have no idea what that is, but I will take your word for it.
I'll actually have to link it to you. You should watch it because it had an experimental style where it stretched out the character between frames to exaggerate fast movement.
Yeah, it was
So you know how
early.
like
And I can get that and using that. I'm not opposed to that, but I can also see how that can be done without understanding, necessarily why or how. It was
back
easy.
then when they did it, the executives were like, "Fire this man! This is horrific! How dare you!" But it is actually used like it's used in a lot of modern animation.
Yeah, which
Well, Digi, I will disagree with you there because yes, there has been Gmod bullshit for a while, but we're talking about rapid fire, small bits of
yeah,
stuff.
no,
Um,
I will
I'm not
say
even
like
I'm not even talking about it as a quality of art thing.
no,
I'm
I mean
talking
there's
about it as it's a problem for people's attention span.
yeah
This has
no,
been
I'm not shit talking. I'm not saying anything negative of Gmod when I talk about it. Like there's been some amazing Gmod animation that I've seen. I mean like War of the Servers, which was like the War of the Worlds parody they did. That was an awesome Gmod animation.
Oh yeah,
That was very much a shit post, but still.
yeah.
But I'm with Storm on this one. Where
Whereas, like, if you watch the old Gmod Idiot Box stuff, like, that was 10,
Yes.
15 minutes per episode, and there was, I'm gonna say low effort, but there was effort put into it, like, and now the Skibbities, like, later on, he did start putting effort into it, and that grieves me the most, but, it's just one of those things where it's this continual trend in art, basically, of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say lowest common denominator because that's not it.
I have a word that I just
there it is. Instant gratification. It's instant gratification.
okay.
Art.
I was gonna
Like-
say
Oh.
and contentification, but that works better.
my
Well,
teacher,
there's
my
that
art
too.
teacher used to say that all the time. You just guys are just so used to instant gratification.
Oh yeah,
She was right.
and we're signs that we're old. Like we're, and it's very possible like that. We're just doing what all people do when they get old.
I suppose.
Now-
yeah.
I
But
will
at the
say
same
that
time-
the old manometer is starting to go off, so we might need to like.
Ah,
I was
let me
gonna say,
tell you about
Krispy, I want you to draw like one of us holding up like something that looks like a scanner that's like got duct tape pieces and pieces of plastic and shit and like little antenna. It's like the old manometer. It's like, what does it do? It's got like a dial that's like green, yellow, red. It's like
It's a skip it with
Like-
a Wi-Fi adapter attached to it.
it's like basically being like current topic, a little old, going out there, old man, boomer. It starts getting like worse.
And to give Whacker a bone, we have to.
I don't want to
Have
think
it-
about what
Whack-
you just said.
Whacker should be the last one.
Well, no, Whacker should be watching us all starting to look old and suffering and laughing maniacally.
Oh yeah, he's like first time.
Yeah, basically he gets to have his fun in the sun for once.
Look, okay. In every sci-fi movie or every monster movie, there's the old crazy man who's like, "You don't understand. The monsters. They've been there the whole time. They're coming. They're gonna be here soon." And everybody's like, "Ah, you're crazy, old man. You don't know what you're talking about." And then
Yeah.
the volcano erupts exactly as he said it would, and
Wait, when did
they
the
never
volcano-
address it. They're just like, "Oh, the volcano exploded. How could we have ever known?"
I think that's Dante's Peak in a nutshell. But yeah. I
And
get
then
what
they
you're
come to the
saying.
old man, and he's like, "I'll help you." And the old man helps, and he dies.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
I told you so, you sons of bitches.
Kind of like Independence Day.
Oh,
Hey,
right.
yeah.
Randy
You know?
Randy Quaid's character, which, I could see Randy Quaid kamikazing a flying saucer with a biplane.
I don't think it was a biplane. I think they wanted it to be a biplane, but
Yeah, I know, the deleted scene was a biplane. In the movie, it was a regular fighter jet. I kind of wish they would have gone with the biplane angle, because that would have been funny.
I haven't watched the latest. I haven't watched the latest of a lot of movies. I need to. I haven't watched the latest Independence Day that came out like what 4 years ago.
I haven't heard it's great.
I mean, I haven't heard shockingly bad or anything like that. just haven't heard great.
Sometimes I feel like I need to watch something not because it's a good movie, but so that I have the zeitgeist. So I'm part of the
Yeah.
cultural zeitgeist that it permeates. Like,
No, I
Well, I
get
mean,
you.
that is part of familiarizing yourself with the landscape. Like, you can't just absorb good art and call it, a day. Like, you have to absorb the stuff that's bad too, and be like, or that you perceive as bad, because obviously there is subjectivity to it.
yeah, like I didn't watch Game of Thrones or Rick and Morty, and I felt like I was like falling out of the nerd culture.
I would say
Well,
if you watch enough to just kind of get the idea, you don't necessarily have to watch the whole
I mean,
thing.
that's not like the big things now, but like 10 years ago.
yeah. Well,
God.
I have a different complaint about that time period, but that's not art quality. That's more like, why does everything have to be so fucking nihilistic? But we've gone over
I
that
Well,
on length in this
yeah,
channel.
we have.
And like, understand, I am a big fan of the books for Game of Thrones, and I was a fan of the first several seasons. But at some point, it was just like every show in the, not every show, but several shows in the 20 teens were, uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Overtly
Well, yeah.
nihilistic.
Yeah, overtly nihilistic.
Which I mean, yeah, we have talked about it before, but it's
And you
not
have the
something
right
you
of
would-
it. You have
you
the
would-
right of it there, Ed. Because, like, I'm saying this as somebody who loves the anime and manga Berserk. But Berserk isn't trying to, be miserable for the sake of, oh, misery sells right now. Berserk's author had a an exploration he wanted to make of this character and what this character goes through. And in so doing, has something to say, whether that something to say is agreeable or not. But then there's stuff that is, just morbid for the sake of morbid, and it's as, bad, I would say, as stuff that's just happy for the sake of happy. And in fact, I'd say it's probably worse because happy for the sake of happy serves a purpose.
Yeah.
I am starting to get into I want to watch like Lovecraftian gameplay.
Yeah.
Which I
Sometimes
mean, that's fun. I mean, we're not saying Lovecraft or anything. It's just more of like the tone of stuff. Like Lovecraft is cosmic horror, which cosmic horror is kind of outside of this, where it's like that's dealing with shit beyond human comprehension. That's supposed to be horror.
Well,
There's
and
a pixelated game that I want to watch a playthrough of, or do my own playthrough of, but I think I'll just watch, called Look Outside,
Yeah.
where you're stuck in an apartment and Eldritch, Geigian, Cronenberg shit is happening to everybody. But if you want to lose the game immediately, just look outside.
Huh.
And your
Yeah.
face is like torn off by something Eldritch.
Yeah. Now, I think another thing also there, though, is that one of the big things about Lovecraft stuff, whether it ends happy or sad, and it rarely ends happy, but it doesn't always end in nightmares, is that the happiness or sadness of the ending isn't the point. It's there are things we can't always contend with, and if you survive, that may be something to take value away from. Like, you have encountered something truly dreadful or truly sublime. You have gotten to live in interesting times for whatever that's worth.
Well, I think a lot of it is also like cosmic horror, and basically like the universe doesn't care about you. Like you're
That's generally where it went with Lovecraft stuff. Yeah.
you're just a insignificant chimp race on a planet that could easily be wiped out by several other greater entities that have not decided to do so at this moment.
Yeah. And Ed makes a good point. Nerd culture should be about embracing who you are, but that also implies that there's a nerd culture to begin with. Which is actually something I'm like, yes, we have nerd culture nowadays. But the entire point of or not point. There was no point of being a nerd. If you were a nerd, you liked something. Everything nowadays, and this kind of gets into like contentification. Everything is a culture, a subculture. Like, what are you? What group do you correspond with? Um, Saying that there's a nerd culture, like I'm agreeing with you on some level, Ed. But part of where I am disagreeing with you is that there shouldn't even be the term nerd culture. In the same way, we should probably not have terms like. I'm losing what I'm trying to say. The fact that we call it nerd culture is where it failed to begin with.
I mean, this might be something that can only be seen if you're looking at it from the outside, Storm. Like,
well,
Yeah.
I mean, I just came back, so I missed the conversation. But in terms of labeling stuff nerd culture, and maybe this is just me just kind of projecting my own thoughts on the conversation, but to me, the problem with calling something nerd culture is it's kind of devalues the things that it's talking about. Because, I mean, think about, like, Big Bang Theory and how that kind of trivializes, like, things like in terms of superheroes or sci-fi or whatever, where it's like there's a lot more depth to that sort of thing. Like sci-fi in particular, like the golden age of sci-fi, there was a lot of stuff that was written about in that time that is still getting like re-examined and turned into movies. Like, you know the movie Arrival? That was a science fiction short story. Terminator was originally a science fiction short story that was actually James Cameron actually ripped off to the point where he got taken to court over it and had to include the name of the writer that did the original short story in it as credit because it was that provably this guy's work. And, you know, that's not the only story that got turned into... Like Blade Runner. That's a Philip K. Dick novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Where there's a lot of depth and thought that goes into this stuff, but, you know, trivializing it, like, turning it just into, like, oh, this is something nerds like, it just ignores the things it's bringing to the table, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think I finally found my statement for it, is it's when you say nerd culture, you imply that there is necessarily a crossover between, say, Star Wars and Star Trek fans. Now, there often is, but it's not vitally so. It becomes a useful category when you are, say, trying to market something, but it actually becomes a rather useless category when you consider that it starts to add expectations to having to be a nerd.
Yeah.
Or what being a nerd even means. So it's a term I don't care for.
Well, it's like
it's a reality, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not going to say that there isn't such a thing. I just hate it.
I mean, the way I look at it is it's kind of like what happened with the punk movement. Because originally, in terms of punk, it was more about, like... Oh.
Sorry, quick pause. Hi, Whacker. Yes, this is art.
Whacker.
So, anyways, in terms of the punk movement...
Oh, God, the old mana meter's going off.
I know, weird, right?
Exploded in my hand.
Not great, not terrible. So, in terms of the punk movement, originally, when it came to, like, the first... and I guess somewhat the second wave of punk, which was like late, like early 70s to like the 80s. A lot of it was more about the sort of counterculture of doing stuff your own way without following the sort of norms of it. You know, for example, like the Ramones. A lot of how they did stuff was just doing it their own way. They had a very specific way of doing things. And because of that, that kind of that made a mark, and obviously now the Ramones are very much a band that people recognize. But later on, as you know, as things go, and it's not just with this; it's with anything, but it tends to get codified into a sort of rigid sort of thinking, and it essentially stereotypes it, I guess you could say. Also, if my computer keeps making disconnect and reconnect noises, I'm sorry. I really don't know what causes that, but it is absolutely infuriating, and I would love to fix it, but I'm not computer savvy.
You have a wiggly Bluetooth.
Well,
Pretzel Bomber says art and varied discussions on the human condition in a post-information scarcity world, featuring Crispy and Co.
I should have made that the title of the stream.
Post inform. Oh, okay. Post. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do apologize, Ed. I think your statement triggered a thought in me that I don't really have a crystallized statement for.
It'd be like
I
that
always
sometimes.
knew there was one of those inside you store.
That said, broadly speaking, I do agree that like you shouldn't have to
Well, it's
you know,
like
follow nerd culture a certain way or whatever.
it's one of those things, and it probably has to do with being autistic, but it's like there's just certain topics and things where it can really get you going with things. It's like,
yeah,
I will admit there's times when it comes to like art stuff I've gotten very opinionated and very defensive of it, but it's not because I'm not open to different conversations and things. It's just like there's certain things about it that I feel very strongly towards. Because it is very impactful in my life to be doing something like this.
Now, I could, of course, do the normal thing and, like, reference something Mr. Tex said, but actually I'm going to use a different example today of someone in our circle of friends who I think actually exemplifies, if there is such a thing as nerd culture, what it should be, which is Spara. And the reason I bring up Spara is...
Yeah, I see that.
Minus
the cursed DMs, but,
Yeah, he is a nerd, capital N, and he will talk your ear off for hours. Like, I think anyone who knows Spara has no problem saying that, yeah, he'll talk your ear off.
No, that doesn't sound accurate at all. I don't know what you mean.
But at the same time, he doesn't expect anyone to agree with him.
No.
He has stories.
Well, I mean, I've called him, Deckard Cain with a drinking and smoking habit? Or something like that?
Yeah. And that really is it. Like, I've never once felt oppressed by Sparta's nerd flying. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'll admit, there's times where I've gotten very opinionated with stuff when it comes to, like, nerd culture.
Yeah.
And, I don't necessarily feel great about that. It's just... I don't know. Part of it, I think, just stems from the fact that there's just stuff that I feel that I don't think people necessarily pay attention to. And I'm not saying people necessarily in terms of, like, any specific circle. I'm just saying in general, Like,
That's
or maybe it's just how I feel.
Thing to have.
An opinion?
Yeah. I try not to show mine, just like you wouldn't want to, like, pull out a gun in a grocery store, People start freaking out.
I don't know, man. I played Postal. But, jeez, that sounds bad. Well, it's just, there's just certain topics and things where, and maybe it's just like just being human, maybe it's just me projecting too much of being autistic into it, but there's just...
You think differently from me bash your skull, ooh, ook, ook.
Okay, no, I finally found it. It's not that there is a nerd culture. Nerd culture came into existence organically. It's that as soon as nerd culture came into existence and was profitable to someone, it became something that had to be controlled.
It was something that needed to be packaged.
Yeah, and so this is where then something like, you have something like the argument between, the people who are okay with new Star Wars and the people who aren't. And I'm not going to get into the finer points of that because we've gone over that in length.
No, we can do more. No, I'm kidding.
But what it is that if there are people who organically liked original Star Wars more than people who like the new stuff, and people who organically like the new stuff more than the original stuff, that would be one thing. But you have major companies that will now try to like decanonize the old stuff, say that their stuff is the only acceptable version, start doing all this CNDs and takedowns and so forth. And then that will cause, some people to reasonably like come to hate the stuff, the way you said you don't really have much love for Star Wars anymore, at least not the new
Yeah.
stuff.
No.
And so then there'll be retaliation, but in that retaliation, then you have the other half of this equation, which are the grifters, the people who know they can make content because they know that a Star Wars fan that they can get sufficiently enraged will watch their content. And so then you get this back and forth where a culture war for two factions that never existed before comes into play.
I can see that.
You know
And so,
what?
like, yeah.
I was gonna say, you can't be an arms dealer if there isn't a war.
No, I guess not.
Just saying.
And it's disheartening because, and I feel like I'm fairly vocal about this, but as much as, like, I think there's a lot of value in storytelling and the power of storytelling. Fiction, especially, that's like this sort of, it just goes back to the stories of mythical heroes and things. There is that stuff means something to people one way or another, and I'm not just saying like it's a story they enjoy. I'm saying like if it were not for Star Wars, I don't think I would be doing the kind of drawing that I do now, because Star Wars, when I was a kid, was a huge inspiration and influence on me as an artist. Same with, like, say, Halo, for instance. That was another one. And that stuff really helped me to not only grow as an artist, but it also caused me to, like, look more into, like, different kinds of fiction, which got me into things like Heinlein, which got me into, like, Battletech, which in turn got me here,
Yeah.
And it's sad because I feel like, not even necessarily on purpose, I want to say, because I think it's been a problem as old as time, but it's like, I'd say, and I don't want to sound like anything specific when I say this, but like I'd say we as a society as a whole don't necessarily put value on that like we should.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole, like, the strangely large Hispanic demographic that loves Dragon Ball.
That's right, because you have people that'll paint Goku at, like, taco places, which is great. I love that.
Yeah, I think Goku would be proud. He loves tacos.
Absolutely.
But what part of that is you have a people group where, what's the word I'm looking for? You have a very kind of overarching cultural thing where you have to act a certain way in cultures. You have to live by certain standards. And here was this thing that wasn't for the adults, that was for the kids who have now grown up and are the adults, that still reinforced those same values without just sounding like mom and dad. In a way, mythology is like the third parent.
It really kind of is, because, I mean, when you think about it, our ancestors, would tell these stories to one another, around, like, the fire or whatever. Or it would be something that was like an epic that was written about, that's passed down to generations, as like, this is the ideal of what a hero, a good person should be. And it's like a fictional story. And yes, it's fiction, but it serves a purpose. This stuff serves a purpose in human society and culture. And I feel like, it gets devalued in a lot of ways these days because of just how it's treated. It's like Star Wars means a lot to a lot of people. Think about all the people that probably have a Star Wars tattoo. And this isn't Star Wars related, but this is one that, honestly, and I'm not a big fan of this series, but this is something that just kind of like sticks with me, as like, wow, this means a lot to somebody, where it's like, do you guys remember the Easter egg they included in the one Borderlands based off of the one person who was a fan that passed away?
Yeah.
Like
that's... I don't know that specific one, but they did that in a lot of Bethesda games as well.
I mean, I would imagine too, but that's just one example I can think of. But the Bethesda ones too. It's like, to a point. It's like this meant something to people. This was something that was a comfort or an inspiration to people, and there's the aspects that they love of it. I feel like just get ignored a lot of the time because, it's just like we want to make money off of this, but it's like, no, you don't understand why this made the money it did. You don't understand why this made the impact that it did. It didn't just do that because it was profitable. It did it because it appealed to people. It appealed to one part of them or another for whatever reason, and you're missing the point of that because you're just trying to copy what already works. But you're not going to strike lightning twice with it. Like, and too, like, that sort of like chasing the dragon of we can replicate this, that too just robs of like the creative like people trying to be creative, and it just robs from like making anything new that's worth a value, And I'm not saying that doesn't happen these days by any stretch. There's plenty of series that still do that, But it's just like I've seen that happen to so many series that I've enjoyed in one way or another as a kid, and I hate to see it because like this stuff meant something to me, and it's just getting twisted into something for the sake of $1.
Listen to this and other philosophical debates by the WBPL crew for only $9.99 on Amazon.
I'm really starting to think instead of I for some reason I thought we're getting into cryptids today, which is why I put esoteric. But man, I should have made it philosophical because we're getting into some like cerebral
art and aesthetics theory. Also, Digiman said in response to the tattoos comment, like, I made a Star Wars EDH deck. Also, hi Cookie Mama.
Hi Cookie.
Listen, I have an idea of an original story. All right, there's this guy, and he's got all these superpowers and abilities. And the story is about despite the fact that like he wins all the battles and does all the things, he's still not happy. Is not settled on the thing that he really thinks matters or wants to do. And it's a commentary on the, how like even if you've got the best stuff, you might not get what you want or what you originally intended to get. Yeah.
See, I like how you went with a deep look into that. I went a different route where it's like a guy that succeeds and everything, but every time he goes for an interview with the papers, he shits himself on camera.
Well, you see, one of those is something Krispy would make, and the other one is the plot of One Punch Man.
Megalaman, how do you feel about finding Destro?
I'm gonna make one Shark Man.
Yep. Hey, Maze.
Bonjour.
How many of the old stories of the old gods and all that, and their like demigod sons are like, haha, I am so powerful, and oh shit, I gotta dress like a woman to go save my girlfriend.
I mean, I'm thinking immediately of in Norse mythology how Thor dressed up as a woman Giantess. To get Mjolnir back.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Oh yeah, no, that's fairly common. Okay, so I'm gonna gush about one of my favorite things, the Odyssey and the Iliad. Do you know what Achilles and Odysseus' names mean?
No.
Any guesses, Andy?
I think Odysseus is probably a play on the word Odyssey.
No, Odyssey was named after him.
Fuck.
No. And the exact translations vary, but at least the one that I've gone with, one is grief and the other is pain.
All right. Interesting.
And
makes sense when you consider.
Yeah, and the entire point of that story is, yes, you can have great honor and, wealth and be beloved, but it will cause you grief and pain. You'll cause other people grief and pain.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, like, we look at those stories nowadays and we're like, oh, that's just, old stuff, like, why do we care about that? But it's like, those stories have value. Like, you can learn a lot of stuff from, say, even right now, you have your typical, like, oh, the wealthy or the media or whatever don't really care about us kind of content, and that always happens. Hell, we were even doing it a little bit a moment ago, talking about, the ruination of art for profit. But then you have, that story's like, did Agamemnon ever really care about the other Greek lords, or did he play on, their sense of honor in order to get more of what he wanted? Like, that story is a tale as old as time.
Oh yeah, I mean it also too. It's like the whole thing of the
Like,
hero's journey.
Yeah,
That
like-
right there is exactly the same thing, where it's like, the hero's journey is
Oh.
a trope that is as old as time, and yet we
Mhm.
still find it appealing. We still keep using it because it's relatable. It's something that we can understand
Hit me-
and get immersed in.
Hit me, Digidestined. What do you mean about the theory about Odysseus and Cassandra?
They were actually aliens.
I mean, I've seen some interpretations to that effect.
Yeah,
Um,
just cut to
I would
ancient
say-
aliens.
I would say that the prequel episodes of Star Wars is a tale on like uh how large body entities can, as powerful and as respected as they are, can just crumble, like the Republic did, like.
Yeah.
And how,
And-
in a way, how indifferent some of the people who live under that can just be like, new flag.
Oh, and you see,
Yeah.
that actually has the value of kids will watch it because it's not boring school stuff. But it's teaching you the exact lesson. No, not the exact lessons, but a good, healthy bite of the lessons that boring school stuff will teach you. Maybe to get somebody interested later in their life into reading about the rise and fall of the Roman Empire or the Weimar Republic or so forth. Star Wars is a good way to get you started on concepts like that.
Well, Star Wars, at base value, Star Wars is a tale between, a story about good versus evil.
Yeah.
But how sometimes good people become evil, and sometimes people who aren't so good become good. Like Han Solo. He wasn't the best character, but eventually he does become a good guy.
And Cookie says classics are classics for a reason.
Yep, absolutely.
And still wondering what Digi's suggestion about Odysseus and Cassandra is. And Pretzel Bomber says it's easily digestible primer on the concepts. Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's definitely a good way to look at it. It's like, I think I've mentioned it before. One of the things that I enjoyed reading a lot was graphic novels and stuff in high school. High school, middle school, elementary, whatever. And comics. And that was a way to really get me invested in reading, Because, I'm obviously, considering I'm doing drawing on a stream right now, I'm a very visual person. And the thing is, it's like, that right there, like, comics are they're sequential art, which goes back to cave paintings. I mean, cave paintings themselves are sequential art, and it's just a method of storytelling that just keeps going down and just evolves in different ways.
So here's an interesting one, and I wouldn't have taken this seriously, or as seriously as I do now, until I had met a certain Legionnaire, and you'll all figure out who it is once I say what it is. But if I told you that, there was a kind of story that could be played out, think like a play that you get to see every week, where good fights evil, and good doesn't always win, but you root for good, you hope good wins. Sometimes evil wins, sometimes evil loses, sometimes a good person becomes evil, sometimes an evil person reforms and becomes good. And you get to see those stories play out every week as, a 10, 12-year-old kid, and learn to value, whatever the morals of your particular hero are.
Yeah.
What would you call that?
Morality play?
Well, yeah, it is a morality play, but for us it's called professional wrestling.
Oh my god.
And as silly as that sounds, think about it. Like, root for the hero, a very basic concept. Heroes can become evil, a very basic concept. It's all in there.
The more that you say it, the more it makes sense. But at the same time, I just keep thinking of, Paul Bearer.
Well, yeah. And there's nothing to say. There's nothing to say that it's all high art. In fact, it's probably not even. It's
I mean,
the right.
no. I think it's high art. There might have been some drugs involved,
Well, okay, that's fair. But no, it's the kind of art that does help. People. Adult and even kids and even adults alike.
I get exactly what you're saying. It's just like, I'll admit wrestling's not for me, but if there is stuff in there, if that inspires kids, hey, good for them.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting at is like on the other side of not everything has to be high art, not everything has to be $100 plate of the world's weirdest egg
Yeah.
or whatever. Sometimes a good cheeseburger is a good cheeseburger.
Yeah. I mean,
So
think about it this way: you can really put some effort into high art, and then you can make something like Stanley Kubrick's Metropolis, or
Yeah.
you can make a shitty dinosaur costume, get a bunch of your friends to shoot like a movie out in the middle of like Pittsburgh, and then make a movie called Velocipaster. It could be the greatest piece of cinema ever made.
Yeah. Well, and that's where you should hope that maybe artists are ready to do both.
so this is actually funny. I was playing that driving game that came out called let's see, uh,
Is it the
Drive
post-apocalyptic
Beyond
one?
Horizons.
Yeah, that one.
It's the one where like you're fixing up a car on your way through an endless desert on a lone stretch of road.
Yeah, I know the game you're talking about.
It's post-apocalypse. It's got
Oh.
zombies and shit. Post-apocalypse. Blah blah blah. There are these little teddy bears you can pick up with a QR code on it. And I usually ignore that stuff, but Whacker says, "Let me take a look at it." And we took a look at it, and it's a YouTube video. The YouTube video is a single slice of white bread falling over. That's it. Now, I'm going to ask the two of you, what do you think of that? What do you get?
I think it
Oh, God.
reminds me of the one time I went to the one art school in Philly, and one of the exhibits in the main like part of the building was an automated hand with a spoon in it that kept scooping cereal out of a bowl that was full of actual cereal, and that was really weird. But I'm also weird like that, so
I mean,
if
that-
we're going philosophically, I'd say it's about like, I don't know, like,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I don't mean.
no,
to interrupt.
I literally was like trying to think of something funny, but I'm like, I don't know if I should say that on the stream. I don't know if I should say that on the stream.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So to follow up on Digiman's thing, and I do find this interesting. So Odysseus pulled the nobody trick on the Cyclops because, from what I hear, I being Digi in this case, I don't speak the language, that the word for nobody is close enough to Odysseus that it could easily have been a nickname. Now, it's important to note that nobody is also a similar word to cleverness. And cleverness in the context of that time period also was equated with the potential to do harm or to avoid harm. Odysseus, that it could easily be a nickname. So if we acknowledge Odysseus's name is close enough to be nobody, then he would have believed Cassandra, whose curse was that nobody would believe her correct predictions.
Oh, interesting.
And then that, brings us to the Cyclops who, when he says, I am nobody, the Cyclops doesn't realize that Odysseus is playing a really nasty joke on him and saying, cleverness hurt you.
And then he turns into Odabsius and he dabs at him.
I mean, a lot of the Odyssey is Odysseus trying to dab on people and realizing it's not a good idea.
No,
Gonna
Odysseus,
dab
you
on the
can't
gods.
dab some.
Oh God!
He's like, talk shit, get hit, motherfucker.
Yep. That's
Alright.
why I also do really like the epic interpretation of Odysseus, because that one he's less of an insufferable prick, but he's still, a man.
An insufferable prick.
Yeah. You know what? We'll call it what it is.
All right. All right.
Hey, man,
So
if it walks like a duck.
I'm going to go back to my previous statement. Like the single slice of white bread just, standing straight up and falling over.
Mhm.
I'm saying this with total shenanigans and not being
dare
serious at all. However, I do think it can be taken as this. It is a metaphor for civilization easily falling. Because something as mundane, but as mass-produced as white bread, toppling over.
I was
Well,
going to make a joke comment about it being the twilight of man, and I hate that I was correct.
Well, I mean, bread is the foundation of civilization. Like, that's how civilization started, was
But
forms.
what is bread?
So
Um,
I want to say this about literary art or just coming up with stories.
More like shitterary art.
I think that after a certain period, it's really by the seat of your pants.
mhm.
Yeah, I could see
And that
that.
maybe sometimes it's the reader or the zeitgeist of the readers that start like filling in the gaps for the writer.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
that's true. Art is a conversation, and I don't mean that in the hoity-toity way that all my jackass professors in college did. Anyways,
No, I get what you're saying.
I'm trying to think of that one story that somebody was writing and he stopped writing because everybody kept guessing what his next chapter was going to be about. He was like, "I don't
Game
wanna
of
do it
Thrones?
anymore."
no, it's another one, but yeah, but it is funny to think of it that way.
Yeah.
So we're running up on Cookie's slot here.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Oh.
I was about to end it as much as I want to finish this drawing for stream. I'm sorry, guys. This one took a little bit. I hope you don't mind just me kind of taking my time on this, but
He's gonna beat us!
we're gonna beat myself up for not finishing it on time. But you know me.
Oh.
But
Well,
I hope people
you-
enjoyed today's stream. We certainly got a lot deeper than I expected.
Yeah.
Not that it's a bad thing.
Sorry for
Yeah,
having the
but-
same conversation for like the 8th time on this channel.
Hey, if they could do the BPL podcast and have the same conversation 8 times, I think we'll be okay.
So
gonna
yeah,
get in
you,
trouble
you,
for
you
saying
came here. You came here for poop jokes. You got a philosophical conversation. Good
Yeah,
job.
what do you think about that?
Yeah.
All right. I hope everyone has a good rest of your week. Y'all take care now.
Stay safe.
Okay!